Which meta-attribute specifies character encoding? Which tag provides fallback content when JavaScript is disabled? Which attribute controls keyboard tab order? Which rel value improves security with target equals _blank? Which tag acts as the clickable title inside details tag? What does the picture tag element allow? Which HTML element defines navigation links? Which element creates expandable content sections? Which attribute enables drag and drop? Which input type is optimized for phone numbers? Which attribute links an input with a data list? Which HTML element represents self-contained content? Which loading value delays image loading until needed? Which tag is used for pronunciation annotations in East Asian typography? Which tag highlights text for reference? Which viewport setting enables responsive layouts? Which attribute automatically starts media playback? Which tag is used to embed video content? Which attribute spans a table cell across columns? Which element contains predefined options for an input? Which tag is used to embed audio content? Which attribute forces file download from a link? Which attribute automatically focuses an input on page load? What is the purpose of the dialog tag element? What is the purpose of the output tag element? What does the meter tag element represent? What is the primary purpose of the main tag element? What does the iframe sandbox attribute do? Which element contains introductory content or navigation? Which element embeds another web page inside the current page? Which target value opens a link in a new tab? Which element displays task completion progress? Which button attribute overrides the form action URL? Which table element groups the body rows? Which element represents machine-readable dates and times? Which script attribute executes after HTML parsing completes? Which element groups media with a caption? Which element provides a drawable area via JavaScript? Which tag embeds inline vector graphics? Which tag carries semantic importance instead of just bold styling? What is the default form method? Which semantic tag is commonly used for sidebars? Which prefix is used for custom data attributes? Which method opens a dialog as a modal? Less than dialog ID equals D, greater than less than dialog greater than. Which semantic element groups related content with a heading? Which attribute shows hint text in an empty input? What is the standard declaration for HTML5? Which form attribute disables browser validation? Which element provides a caption for a figure? Which input type creates a slider control? Which attribute makes a form field mandatory?